Today, we're going to talk about ethics in marketing. Now, I talk about this idea of having a weighing scale, and on one side of the weighing scale, we have our delivery skills, and on the other side of the weighing scale, we have our creating the opportunities to do the delivery skills. And these are the two skill sets that we need to run a financially viable coaching business, and they are 50-50. We need them in equal measure. Now, many coaches don't even know that side of the scales exists. They think they're coaches and they have their coaching skills, and that we're encouraged to believe that coaching is so special and so unique that it is its own client acquisition tool, and that's simply not true. Now, every single business, whatever it sells, whether it sells a product or a service, every single business has to have a client acquisition process. Because if you don't have clients, and let me be really specific here, if you don't have clients who are paying you, then you don't have a business, you have a hobby. And I know that can be quite challenging, quite confronting to hear, but I'm very sorry to tell you it's absolutely true. Now, as I've discussed in some of my other lives so far, 82% of coaching businesses will fail in the first 2 years. What I thought that meant when I first came across the statistic was that something horrible was happening around the 23 months mark and everything was collapsing like a Jenga tower, and that prior to that 23-month mark, everything had been going swimmingly. Anyway, turns out that's wrong. Turns out that 2 years is as long as anyone can sustain trying everything they can think of to find paying clients, and it just not working. And at the end of that 2-year period, which is an average thing, we decide, we run out of time, energy, money, momentum, will to live, and we just go, the coaching profession's saturated. I was a fool. I was a fool to think I could run my own business. I was a fool to think that I could make this work, and we go back to doing something else. That's not true. You're not a fool. And the coaching profession isn't saturated. What you are is struggling with a knowledge gap. And your knowledge gap is on this side of your weighing scales. Now, I know that we're highly intelligent people. I've never met a thick coach. Coaches are really clever. And so what we do is we try everything we can think of, and we improvise, and we're really good at improvising, and that improvisation to be massively successful. And it isn't working in this case. And rather than realizing that it's us, we don't have the knowledge, we have a big knowledge gap, we kind of cast around for what we can find. We read Seth Godin books, we read Rory Sutherland books, maybe the Donald Miller Storybrand books. We read marketing books and we try and assimilate things from what we've read. We also attend free webinars and download PDFs, and maybe you've read my book too. And we try to make what we know fit what we're trying to achieve. Now, if you just think about that for a second and put that on this side of your weighing scales and say, okay, I'm not going to learn how to coach properly. What I'm going to do is read a bunch of books and kind of make it up. We'd be absolutely mortified. We'd be like, well, you're not a coach if you haven't done the study, had the support, had the accountability, been observed, had your progress monitored and carefully looked after by somebody who really knew what they were doing. You're not a coach. You're just somebody who's read a few coaching books. And yet, for some reason, on this side of our scale, we think we can win it. Wing it. Did I say wing it? So I'm going to talk about ethics today, because it is a really big barrier to coaches even acknowledging the need to learn how to market or sell, let alone marketing or selling. Now, there is a pervasive myth in our profession that says that marketing is unethical, that it's inauthentic, that it's cheap and nasty, that it's distasteful. And it's really weird. And I can only think that because we are in general a more mature population, I think our average age is probably higher than with most professions, that we've kind of somehow got stuck on the Del Boy Trotter or secondhand car salesman or kind of timeshare scaries of the 90s, because marketing's not unethical, selling's not unethical. Like, unless you're doing it unethically, it's not unethical. So I'm going to explain to you why it's not unethical, and what an ethical marketing message looks like for a coach. So the reason that we think, perhaps, has just come to me now, the reason perhaps that we think that marketing is unethical is that we are kind of, we see outlandish claims from other coaches. And we see people making guarantees or promises that we just think, how can they possibly guarantee or promise that? Coaching doesn't work like that. We can't possibly guarantee the things that coach is now guaranteeing, or offering money back guarantees. That's something I've heard about over the last 24 hours. You can't, or you really shouldn't be offering a money back guarantee on a service that is so dependent on the client doing the thing. If you don't do the thing, you won't get the results. And so offering a money back guarantee is just opening yourself up to huge problems. And the other thing, no, let's carry on with the ethics. So I know what I was going to say. The other thing is that the other place where we are on the receiving end of horrible, unethical, nasty marketing is the billion marketing gurus who jump into our DMs. Now, I have this every single day. Oh, Sarah, you're a coach. It's like, have you actually looked at my profile in my case? But there are many, 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 many people who are in your DMs promising the earth 6 figures in 90 days. This one thing, just do this silver bullet thing and you'll have all the clients you want. Or I'll get you 20 warm leads in your diary every month. And they charge a phenomenal sum. The most I had heard of was $22,000, but I spoke to an MCC this week who told me that she'd spoken to somebody who charged $75,000. Like, this is bonkers. You need to learn how to market yourself before you can outsource it to anyone else. You need to have a working client acquisition pipeline. So kind of employing a social media manager to do your marketing for you, or learn how to do it properly, and then put the things in place to support you with it once you're up and running. So, ethical marketing. Two sides of the scale. The ICF and the global codes of ethics sit on this side of the scale. They are about what we're doing when we're being a coach. They are not about what we're doing when we are marketing, when we are working on our client acquisition. And this is one of the places where coaches get stuck. They say to me, I don't understand how I can do it ethically, because the code of ethics says that I must not have a vested interest in the outcome of the conversation. But when I'm on a discovery call, I absolutely do have a vested interest in the outcome of this conversation, because I want a client out of it. Now, if we think about it, even the language we use, the euphemisms we use, instead of saying it's a sales conversation, we say it's a discovery call, a chemistry call, a strategy session. Because of this ick factor around marketing and selling. Well, that stops now. Let's be adult about this. Let's not use euphemisms. Let's call it a sales call. So let me explain about marketing and why you don't need to be anywhere near as afraid of sales calls as you think you are, or as you are, whichever. So on this side of our scales, the ICF and global codes of ethics don't apply. There are lots of places where a code of ethics is aligned with marketing, but we can't take it verbatim. Now, the Coaching Revolution, we have our own code of ethics for marketing, and you'll find it on the website under the About Us tab, thecoachingrevolution.com, if you want to go and look. So on this side of the conversation, ethical marketing looks like not making promises and not making guarantees, because we cannot promise and we cannot guarantee, because we don't know what the coachee is going to do. We don't know that they're going to take any action. We don't know they're going to show up and do the thing. We don't know any of that. So this side of our scales is client focused. We are focused on the client who is sitting in front of us in the coaching session. This side of our scales is also very client focused, but it's focused on the client who sits at the intersection between the who and the what that I've spoken about already in previous days' lives. And where those two things cross, that intersection is where our ideal client avatar or our focus should be. Now, an ideal client avatar is a fictional thing, a fictitious character made up of the demographics and psychographics of the people who exist at that intersection. Now, the reason that they exist, and there's quite a chunk of work to build an ideal client avatar. It's not, you can't put it in chat, create me an ideal client avatar, because it's just, it'll certainly turn something out, but it won't be anywhere, it won't be accurate or useful or helpful. So the ideal client avatar work, it's a deep and chunky piece of work. I'll cover it on another day. So for today, our focus is on that ideal client avatar. Once you have them, you can literally forget all of the other 8 billion people in the world and focus on just speaking to that particular person who sits in the middle of your dartboard. So imagine a dartboard. This person sits on the bullseye of the dartboard. That doesn't mean there aren't loads of other scores on your dartboard who will be people who don't quite match the psychographics and demographics of that particular client, but who have the same problem that's keeping them awake at night. So, for example, if you work with the emerging leader, who I've kind of alluded to over the last 4 days, if you work with an emerging leader in the legal profession, what you will find once you start to gain traction is that somebody will say to you, look, I'm not a lawyer, but apart from that, you're talking about me. Do you work with people like me? And then you have a choice. You can either say yes or you can say no. So where does the ethics come into it? When there are 2 assumptions that we make when we're working on this side of our coaching business, and they are this. Assumption number 1 is that when I show up for a coaching session with any client, I will bring the very best version of coach that I have to that session. I will leave my baggage at the door and I will be present. I will embody a coaching mindset. I will be the best version of a coach that I can possibly be. Now, the other assumption that we make is that the client in that session will be the best version of a client that they will be. They could be, sorry. They will turn up for every session. They'll be completely committed to the coaching process. They'll arrive with a great attitude. They'll take all the actions that they agree at the end of every single session, and they will be an absolute pleasure and a joy to work with. So that's the assumption that we market from. Now, a really good, effective marketing message says this. It says, ideal client, I know you are here. Don't get hung up on the word ideal, by the way. Let's call it potential client. I know coaches go, well, all clients are ideal. Potential client. Potential client, I know you are here. I know you are really, really grappling with the thing that you are struggling with, that's keeping you awake at 3 a.m. in the morning, and that is making you really unhappy. And I know that you want to be here, which is without that problem. I know what this problem is. I know how it affects you. I know how it's affecting your work life. I know how it's affecting your relationships, potentially, your social life, potentially, your health. I know how it's affecting you. I even know the things that you've tried to overcome it. And I can explain to you why the things that you've tried haven't worked in quite the way that you hoped that they would. However, I know you want to be here. Sorry, I know you're here. I know you want to be here. And this is what I do. And we should talk. Now, here is the outcome they want. And this is where, when I say to coaches, what outcome does your client want? They sit on this side of their coaching business and they say, oh, well, I can't tell you because it depends. It depends. On this side, it doesn't depend because we've done the work. We know our clients here. We know they want to be here. And we explain that this is what we do. Now, ethics. We don't say, I know you're here and I absolutely promise I can get you there, or I absolutely guarantee that you will reach this outcome. We never say that. What we say is that we understand that's where they are and that's where they want to be. Now, part of the reason that we would be incredibly unethical if we promised this is that we know that the thing that clients arrive with in session one, the kind of the biggest problem that they perceive that they have, is very rarely the thing that we're talking about by session 3. It's not, is it? But what we cannot do is say, I know you're here and I know you think you want to be here, but I know better because actually what's going to happen, because that's just patronizing. So we need to meet our potential client where they are. And once you do the work on developing this potential client avatar, you know where they are, you know where they think they want to be, and you can craft a really ethical marketing message around that. Now, when that new client arrives in session 1 with you, and this is really important for ethics, we contract really, really well. We make it crystal clear that whilst we are responsible for the process, they are responsible for the action. Let's face it, they can get anywhere they want to, can't they, if they do all the steps in the process. That's how this works. So, where was I going? I've just lost my thread. Welcome to the life of a midlife woman being live. They're here, they want to be here. This is what we do. Ethics. Oh, yes. We know that's what they think they want. Now, let me give you an example of the difference between what they think they want and what we know they need. And the reason I'm going to do that is because nobody will ever buy what they need. They will only ever buy what they want. And so we need to understand what they want and wrap what they need into our coaching package. So a really easy one to kind of get your head around this is this is a client who is sick to death of the job that they're in. They're hating it for whatever reason they're hating it. It might be a toxic environment, a boss that they can't work with. They're just ready for the next step. Whatever it is, they feel stuck and trapped and they can't find a way out. Now, they know they need some help, but what they think, so they're here, they want to be here with this new job. And what they think they need help with, what they want is help with CV, help with perhaps interview technique, help with maybe getting the CV past the AI scanner things that reject you before you've even had a chance to have a conversation with anyone. And so that's what they think they want. That's what they will buy. Now, as coaches, we know that the very first thing they need is to sit down and work out what their core values are, to do a values elicitation exercise. Now, they don't care that we know that's what they need because they don't think they need that. They want CVs, interview technique. That's what they want. Now, once they've done the core value work with you as a coach and they realize why they've been so unhappy in their current role, then they'll value the values work. But until then, they don't think they need it. They don't understand that they need it. And so we need to meet them where they are, but make sure that our coaching package, our coaching program offers them all the things that we absolutely know that they're going to need too. I think that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, drop a comment underneath where you're watching this video, or send me a DM if you don't want to be exposed by writing a comment under the video, and I'll go into it in more detail. Now let's talk about selling. Coaches tell me they're not very good at selling, that they don't like it, it feels pushy, or all of the things that you will have heard coaches say. So here's the thing. Number one, a sale is a single point on a customer journey, on a client journey, from never having heard of you to finishing a coaching program with you. Somewhere in the middle is the sale. Now, all selling is matching a service with a need. That's it. Now, if you market properly, what you will find is that your marketing has done all the heavy lifting for you as far as selling is concerned. And that by the time a client lands in your diary, they'll know who you are, they'll know what you do, they'll know you do it for people like them, and they'll know what it costs. Transparency in pricing is a hill on which I would die, because one of the things that I think is incredibly unethical that we do as a matter of course is ambush people with a price in a sales call. And honestly, I think that's a lot of the reason why coaches don't like selling, because when the person in the discovery call, strategy session, chemistry session, excuse me, I've got hiccups, whatever it is that we're calling those things, if they don't know what it costs, then we are ambushing them. If you market properly, you will have been utterly transparent about your pricing, so they will know what it costs by the time they land in a conversation with you. And what that means is that the sales call is quite simply an actual chemistry session, because they want to see the whites of your eyes. They want to know that you are the person that they really hope that you are, because they have recognized themselves in your marketing, and they want to know that what they believe to be true, what they hope to be true, is true. And of course it is, because your marketing message has come from you, from your knowledge and experience, and it has been focused on them because they have this very specific problem. So they're already sold. The sales call is to explore how that particular problem is showing up for them in particular, them as an individual, and to possibly talk through a little bit about what the package might look like. So, the distance between sessions and the support in between, etc., etc. When you market effectively, selling stops being scary, is what I'm trying to say. I think I've already said it, but I'm saying it again because it's really important that you know this. There are so many sales coaches out there. You don't need a sales coach. What you need is a really good, strong, ethical marketing message with all the boxes ticked, so that when somebody lands in a sales call with you, they know who you are, they know what you do, they know you do it for people like them, and they know what it costs. Now, one of the things that we suggest is that you send out what we call a rate card when somebody books a call, which will include the price. And sometimes if somebody hasn't been aware of what you cost, what that means is that they will cancel the call. And that can feel like a knife in the heart when you're early in this process. It can feel it can engender really big feelings. However, and this is important, when you get busy, you won't mind people who can't afford you not being in your diary. Now, for the record, I don't think that people who can't afford us don't deserve coaching. I don't think that at all. And I know that as a profession, we have a lot of time for pro bono coaching. In fact, we have so much time for it that there is an organization, an associate coaching organization, who sell coaching to their clients, and all their coaches are expected to deliver pro bono. And coaches will do that because they're so desperate to build their hours. Now, don't get me started on the ethics of that, by the way. So, again, I've lost my track. What was I talking about? I've got so many things going on in my head that I can't quite remember what I was talking about. Oh, yeah. People who can't afford to pay a professional rate. It doesn't mean that they don't deserve coaching in my book. I believe that everybody deserves coaching. I think that coaching is a superpower. However, pro bono coaching comes after your financial bases are covered, not before. There is no other profession in the world who would dream of delivering endless hours of pro bono work before they'd ever been paid. Pro bono work has its place, but it's not at the beginning. Basically, pro bono coaching isn't a marketing activity. The problem with coaching people pro bono and hoping that is going to bring you more clients is that people who are coached for free, they may refer you, but they will refer you to other people who want to be coached for free. So I think I've covered ethics there. If there is anything else you would like to know about ethics, please ask the question in the comments or drop me a DM on LinkedIn. And connect with me on LinkedIn.